So in the early 2000s, you started doing films in Winnipeg. And as we've seen, they're all mix of satire, irony, absurd, burlesque. But still, there's a lot of optimism and a lot of playfulness in your films. And you've touched upon different genres: animation, music video, mockumentaries a lot, docufiction, and
you should come right for me, dude.
And you've touched upon subject that we are still talking about today, the everyday life of the everyday indigenous life, the, how can I say, maybe the subtlety or the complexity of the intercultural misunderstandings, if I may say it this way. And then you start making films for some time now. Although your films have played pretty well in the festival circuit, you even played at the Berlinale. So where were you, and why don't we know that much about your films and about you?
I guess, well, first, probably I haven't made films in a bit, but I've done a lot of my goals that I've always wanted to do, and funny enough, it's actually through film. So actually, that's why I could actually pay respect to and have an understanding and leaving film for a while, which I think helps me better creatively and for everything. But I'm just grateful for the 10 years, or I don't even know how long, this is 6 years or whatever ago, 7, and doing what I've always wanted to do. My goal growing up was always sort of to work with people in my community with mental illness or addictions and stuff. So that's sort of the reason because I got a good understanding of art. Now I'm gonna go into a place where I feel very comfortable talking about. I did not like art as, I got it, but I just didn't understand it. Or I understood it, but I never really cared for it in a sense of, I don't know. It'll fit in when I sort of, please give me time if you want to leave. Well, for the artists that are here, please, I admire all your art. I'll get to that. But just to get back, understanding art from that and saying, hey, you know what? I did a lot of my goals. One of my goals was to live in New Zealand. Amazing enough, I did for a year. And another goal was to go to Berlin, and funny enough, was one of my idols was Sebastian Schweinsteiger, and I actually got to Berlin through film. So everything always worked out, and going everywhere I wanted to go, I got to, Asia, New York. I wanted to go so many times, and thank God I went, before everything else. But just to go on again, I completed a lot of things I did, so I was very grateful, right? Then I always said to myself, well, why don't I go back and always do what I always wanted to do, was work now in mental illness and addictions and stuff like that, work in my community. So I've completed that. However, I feel very proud and honored to say that I went through a lot in that world. One of the first things I'll just talk about, and if you want to ask me after, just not to go into things, but get in a business and you cut somebody down in the first place, and especially I'm very fortunate enough to work at I'm very I'm truly respected by my community in the sense that where I work in a men's girls home, right? So, one of the first years is cut someone down and skipping, whatever. But again, now I work closely within my community, young people again, and I'm very proud just to be who I am, because I'm proud of the relationships that I build to do what I'm able to come back to do now. But I've always been interested in art, no matter what, because I was introduced to art through my friend Melissa Wasowski, who's actually here. She started, I don't know who started Urban Shaman Gallery, but that's where I first got interested in art. just to thank them, the art community, period, of that perspective of how I thought of it. So I finally get to do what I'm doing. Again, I completed a goal, but the next goal I have to do that I've never finished was leaving. Was funny enough was I was trying to work on this TV show called The Band Office. I'll talk about that in a second. So, but just to go to where we are to finish this. Finished, I did all my arts, most of my art I've seen. I've always worked in the community of art, though, with mates that I'm grateful enough to be on Ryan McKenna's film, and honored to be, I was in 4 films this year that I played. So strange. Yeah, I was in a 3D film. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's neat. I was in a 3D film. That's pretty cool. But to get again where I was, the work that I've done, that I'm doing now to survive, it's opened me up now to a lot of art, to do what I can do today. Not to go much into why, but I'm just very grateful I have the freedom now to do this when I want to do it. So that's where I'm at. If that answers the question, and then please, did I go on too long? I did not go on too long? No. Okay, cheers, thank you. I'm sure somebody here said yes, but we'll talk after.
Talking about time, I think we're pretty limited because we have until 10 to 7, I think.
You have a good half hour.
A good half hour. So might as well very early on open the floor to anyone who has any question to Darryl. So just raise your hand, and there's a microphone over there. Is there any question right away? Yep.
Hello. You are speaking about a show about the APTN, and obviously you want to speak about it. So.
Oh, please. Thank you very much. Oh, you, sir. Gentlemen, human being, are awesome. Yes. The goal that I had, many of these goals that I achieved, were cool, but the band office is actually one thing that I've always wanted, and basically to say what the band office is it's like the BBC series The Office, American series The Office, or Trailer Park Boys in this sense, but based on a reserve, and I have a lot of good stories about chiefs. Not fighting, but the relationship is just amazing, and with the community, and I just feel it's just something that people should finally see. It just doesn't make sense to me, however, but it's just a goal that I know Marcel Balfour and I are trying to produce. Funny enough, we made the script and we did all this sort of made the Bible for it. But we have to go back to the script, which I was going back to just to keep up with times. However, I'm a person that does not own a phone. I don't own a computer. Well, I do. I guess I have a computer. It's funny enough story. But I don't own a cell phone. I wouldn't know what to do. If you gave me it and said unlock it, I'd guess. And that's about it. Then I'd say, how do you turn it off or on or whatever? Okay. Yeah. But I am, see, this is what I mean about, I had to go back to the script of the first one, but that's actually a goal of mine now, is the band office. And I know I'll get it because it's a goal that, I'm just going to work hard for it no matter what.
So
thank you for your cheers. Thank you very much, sir.
So how did you come about doing your first films? It's obviously an artistic tool, but it's also a tool for you to express in very little so much. And, comedy usually underlies a lot of, social issues and political issues that you convey so well in so little. Is cinema or video art or film for you the best way to express what you really want to say in terms of artistic expression?
That's a cool question. From what you said, I'm gonna have to say yes. The short films, I get to express who I am. In a sense, I do will always want to continue to make short films. I'm not really interested in doing anything else, but because of the goal I had, you know, that's my goal. But now I just want to make short films because I get to now have a lot of freedom to set other goals, because I have family in New Zealand, you know, I have mates in Germany and all over the world that and I get to make other films now, you know, the way I want to, and the way I've made my films to get where I've gotten, you know, like like all my films are sort of the same, but yeah, I think.
Talking about Germany, what's your relationship with Deutschland? There's another film of yours that wasn't screened tonight where you also wear the shirt, and you know there's the German song. What's the connection with Germany besides just your dream of going there?
Okay, this will be all. Bear with me, the fast thinkers.
Half an hour, don't forget.
Funny story, not funny story. Growing up, I grew up in a very Indian white community. It was just right in downtown Winnipeg. And to get to why the fascination, first off, I did not understand Jewish genocide. I'll get to that, and I was probably 28 and 30 years, like literally 15 years ago to understand this. And I have mates that will say, yes, this is a fact. And don't believe me, I don't give a how, you know, I'm sharing my story. So anyways, we grew up, it was funny enough, you know, in my community it was Indians and whites, and we're all mates, but for some reason, every time we played war, all the white kids wanted to be the Americans, and all the Indian kids wanted to be the Germans. Facts. I have mates, yes, this is true. I have mates that will say, this is facts. Now, to get to why, very funny is because growing up, I grew up more in the 70s and 80s, and we watched a lot of how do you say those words or those movies when they put they're basically pro-American. You know, Big Red One.
Propaganda film?
Yeah, well, it's just who America is. But that's what we aired on television here. So when growing up, I understood. I was like, well, why did me and my mates were talking. It's like, why did all the Indians and why do whites want to be the Americans, and why did the Indians always want to be Germans? Now to understand those films or anything on television, like growing up in the 70s, I think even 69, like, combat, but because of our parents, we knew the shows or any of these war shows. And again, going out and play, what do, right? We're kids, we're outside all the time. Again, play war. Okay, we pick sides. We know the sides we picked. That's done, that's facts. Now, growing up, I really did not understand. I knew what war was. I knew Germany and the world, that was it. When I'd see a documentary or something, no, I wouldn't follow a documentary, excuse that. If I watched a film and I'd see pools of, you know, bodies and Holocaust and this understanding, the way I've thought of it, it was just war. It was just dead bodies. Does this make sense? Are people following me?
Everyone's following you.
Cheers. I didn't understand the Jewish part of it and the genocide. I just didn't. And I think I wasn't just interested, because I just probably liked the German culture, because I truly loved the suits, the designs, the planes, the tanks. You know, that whole, but just not them, I'm talking about France's planes as well, right? England. Well, not so much England. But that's what I liked, and I think that's fair enough to stand by. However, now, actually funny enough, learning through art, Darryl, you cannot, and having mates now that are German and more mates that are now Jewish, and trying to understand, like, you know, but because they probably thought I was already old enough to understand, this is the part that they're incorrect, or a lot of people have a misunderstanding. I did not really understand that whole idea. I'm like, well, why, it just I didn't get that part. But I did like the whole fact of, and I still do. I met Maricol. I seen Schweinsteiger score a goal. Like, he's a hero of mine, football, soccer. But to go back, like, is growing up again, to understand, okay, the audience, the reason why I talked to one of my mates why the Indians picked the Germans is because these films we watched, the Germans were always losing, okay? If that makes sense, we as Indians, that's the way we looked at ourselves in this sense. But I'm not sure, but when I picked Germany, maybe for the first time, I don't know, it would be because they were losing. And that's the way and that's how I realize now all the Indians are on the German side, but not in that sense, but through, I don't know, just because they were losing. It didn't matter who they were, but through propaganda film again, they're losing. And we didn't know, nobody knew, we didn't know any history of what's going on. It's just war. So, and that's, I think, does that make sense to everybody, please?
Yeah.
Okay, and no to that one person. Hey, fuck. I know what you're talking about. No,
any question in the audience? Yes, please.
I just have one question. I'm wondering if perhaps you felt like you couldn't pick the American side, if that makes any sense. You had to make a distinction.
I chose the German side because I always knew they were losing. Even as a child watching television or the movie, that they always lost. It just but when we go out and play war, it's like, okay, who are you going to be, the Nazis or the Germans or the Americans? I can't remember how we pronounce it. I don't even think we use Nazi. Like, it was just, you American or German. That's the way it was. It was, Yeah, exactly. But I just noticed all my mates that when we finally, when we're growing up, it's like, holy crap, all the white boys wanted to be the Americans and all the Indians wanted to be. Now, we had a couple of switcheroos, but, what are you going to do with them?
Well, that's interesting because you're touching upon the question of reverse perspective. There's actually one film by Sam Peckinpah called Cross of Iron that was made from the perspective of the Germans. You might be interested to watch that. Maybe since you're touching upon a subject that might have been controversial, so I'm going to ask a question that probably is. Do you think that non-Indigenous filmmaker can make films about Indigenous people? Because there is such a sort of a tsunami, a new wave of amazing Indigenous filmmakers who maybe were voiceless 10 or 20 years ago, and with the help of Wapikoni and Présence autochtone and the National Film Board and other institutions, they're able to express themselves much more than before. But still, do you think that it's more important to have content about Indigenous life, even if it's from a non-Indigenous filmmaker, or do you think that it's reserved for Indigenous people?
Oh, I'm just trying to think of somebody I could quote. There's nobody. Just quote myself. I've actually never really thought of it because it's just, I feel people are just going to do what they're going to want to do. In my past, working, okay, I want to be very careful. I don't want to disrespect anybody publicly. Or, wait. Because if I say one organization, then I'm saying everybody, and that's incorrect because there's so many beautiful people. That's always been a subject that, for myself, I'll work. I've asked one of my people. It's such a strange topic conversation for myself. It's just because I feel a lot of the perspectives are incorrect from as an Indigenous perspective, even that's incorrect. From an Indigenous perspective, it would be correct to make, that would be a correct way I would respect a movie, and I do watch films. And however, sometimes I do like watching the outside as well, but there seems to be too many outsides. Those stories have been made a lot, I grew up with a lot of that. Yeah, it's just, there's been a lot that I feel not enough Indigenous storytellers. You know, I'm actually grateful my elder gave me the right to even tell any story that I want. That's like, I'm very grateful I came from can I tell this story quickly? Mm-hmm. This is cool. This will tell you a lot about me, but however, I truly am just a human being. One of my elders, the reason why I chose my elder, I did a short film with NFB, my Indian name, but the reason why I chose my elders, I didn't want an elder that went to residential school or church. I had to have an elder that had clean stories. And my elder is lucky enough to be up on the plateaus or up on in the Kenora area there where, strangely enough, human beings were born. And he is from that community, and his reserve actually hasn't been touched by the churches or that residential influence. So he actually has all his stories intact. And over the time that I met him, growing from doing teachings now 2 years, learning through him, and knowing him 15 years ago. And now he's given me that honor, and I'm very blessed as a human being. Myself, as Darryl Nepinak, I just truly want to thank my elder Dennis for being there for me. Yeah, is that a cool story? I'm just very grateful I get to do his stories, and I get to, that's an honor to me.
Any question? Yes.
Darryl, I saw you took a little trip with some of your mates recently to the States. It looked like you were working on a new project or something. I'm just curious if you can share with what that was all about.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's a cool story too, mate. Because that's funny. That's where I died. Do we have time for this story? It's not long, but this is a true story. I went out with, we went to Grasslands. Oh, I'm wearing it. Grasslands with Matt Rankin and Mike Marinick. And we went to the Grasslands Badlands, and Matthew Rankin is shooting for the national parks, and we went out there and we shot something with him. And the reason, the dead story, at one point we went to we drove up to the park center, and Mike and Matt Rankin and Mike Marinick went inside, and I missed a small conversation. They said, we're seeing, there's rattlesnakes there. So I miss out on the conversation part. And this is an honest mistake. I stand by this. Please, just listen. We go up, and I already know the rattlesnake routine. We're going up this plateau, where you run, it's just, we're massive high up in the sky, touching the clouds, basically. And when we finally get up to the hike, right, there's this stone that looks like this, if you could see. It looks like this goddamn creator damn chair, minus this back part. Okay? So, perfect. This is what happens. So, I remember this conversation. There's a rattlesnake up somewhere. And we didn't know, okay, not when I was with those two guys, but this wasn't a conversation, just a simple conversation. I knew there's a rattlesnake up there under a stone. So It's blowing wind. It's prairie grass up on this high area. And I'm thinking, like, there's no way. There's this damn rock right here, like a chair. But Matt Rankin and Mike Marinek, they're filming over about, say, 15 to 20 meters. But it's blowing, like blowing. And I said to him, I don't know how to say the word, but there's like a crevice or right underneath where a damn rattlesnake would live. And they're going, Darryl, sit down. And I said, mates, this is where a snake would live, if anywhere. Not up top of a hill, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I said to them, because, like, you know, I thought this makes sense, the story makes sense. And I said, but I'm yelling, mates, it looks like this is where a rattlesnake will sit. They're saying, sit down. So I sit down. Just thinking, oh, groundhogs. Because they're everywhere. But not up there, because of the goddamn rattlesnakes. So I'm like, wow, that does look like a rattlesnake. But they're yelling, Darryl, turn, right? If anybody works in film here? Aaron? Right, okay. And Clark. But please understand, the wind is just, but I get what they're thinking, because you think a stone, but anyways, we take the shot, blah, blah, time goes on. However, I know a rattlesnake bit me and I died up there. But our mates, we go down after, and I said, oh no, they came back. That's right, I showed them. And that's when they said, oh yeah, this is the stone. But that's why I knew they weren't, that's why I believed them. Because you would think, this is just somewhere you could, like, there's nothing up there. Just this, where you could sit down and rest. But apparently down at the park place, they said, there's a stone up there where a rattlesnake lives. To them too, but they did mention in the conversation, but when you get up there, I was like, oh, I'll just go sit there, right? You guys go over there. I'll sit here. It makes sense. But I died. But yeah, that's a cool story. And we're shooting national parks. And yeah, I was with Matthew Rankin, see his film, and Mike Marinek, see his film. Filmmakers, they're cool filmmakers.
Yeah, they're national treasures. And I had only like serious questions to ask you now. Now I feel bad. Other questions? Oh, so many hands. Okay. In the back, the guy in the red.
Me?
Yep.
I was just wondering if you could talk about television and how a lot of your references are kind of living in a televisual world, like the school, like the spelling bee stuff and the talk shows and Tonto and then now you're working in television. I'm wondering if you could just talk about like the difference between television and cinema and like how your work is engaging with TV.
I kind of treat my shorts as one thing. When I first entered film, I was entered through news, like newscast, and I did not like that world because everything was shelf, stories shelved, right? And there's nothing to them. So I figured if I make short films as a shelf style, which I find enjoyable over time, right? As if you could sort of, with comedy in this sense. So I just try to make it shelf style in a TV sense of, as well as trying to feed an audience with the way I think people would like to enjoy it. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't, does it? Okay. Like, Scott.
Yeah.
Scott, it's Patrick, mate. Oh, Scott, your film is playing Sunday.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Please see Scott Fitzpatrick's film. Again, Scott, ask the question.
I was just wondering if you could talk about just TV and how you relate to TV or,
or
how your work just relates to TV. It's pretty broad.
What I meant to say is it's interesting that it's almost like I could just do, as much as I want to shoot on film, I can make my stuff on HD or, in that television aspect. But funny enough, that's how I when I know this, I use that. I know I'm not using a cinematographer, I'm not using that film 35 millimeter camera. When I can, I will use that in that sense. But I just use this in that style. Is that more?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, okay, cheers.
Someone else had a question over there. Yeah.
So you work a lot with your friends, your family, your community members. Can you talk a little bit about that process of working with or collaborating with people that you're close with?
No. You know, it's so great. Just it's the company, right? Like knowing them, but also finding new, right? And trying to involve a lot of my community I come from with the art community. That's why you'll see somebody like Matt Rankin or Mike Rankin Mike Marinick on my films. But you also have my friends like Melissa Wastasakut is here. Please stand up, everybody. Give applause to this wonderful actress, Melissa Wastasakut. Stand up. But yes, she's on there as well. But she still works in the art community, and she introduced me to art through Urban Shaman. So that's one thing I'm grateful and family friend. But it's like that community, bringing in different communities through my films. I'm just trying to think of somebody that's, but yeah, like for my other films, I'll bring in new people that from my community, just as working with art with other people that like, Mike again, or some, introducing and developing those relationships. Cool.
Are you presently working on a film?
Currently not. Am I working? What am I working on? I'm just working on a grant. That's where I gotta talk to you. But just doing my own things right now. Like right now is the band office. I just need to really focus on that. But I do I want to do short films. Like that's what I truly do, and seeing them again, because we get inspired, and I get inspired by going out with these, working on sets again. So that's pretty cool.
Any other questions? What time is it? How much time do we have still? On a 15 minutes. Okay. Ryan, you wanted to say something?
I don't know. Do you want to talk about do you have any inspiration for how you come to make your films? I don't know. There's kind of a sketch quality to them. It makes me think of like Dave Chappelle or something like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Just like going back to all my ideas are sort of that same style. Like I'll explore other ideas because I really understand a different perspective of art now. Again, going back to how I looked at the community and this wide, looking at this art world as bullshit, as this, and it was, but the funny thing is it wasn't. Now to go back to an individual perspective is how I'm gonna feel. Like now all my films are gonna be different, and I know this already, and it's gonna be interesting for people to understand or catch on, because I am gonna understand more individualism instead of that. If you say Dave Chappelle all over, right? So yeah. But it will, like, I truly look, coming, I don't want to say that, but, and understanding the art world, looking at Big Umbrella, then, but, ignoring the people that I met, like, the Serge and new people that work very hard, and Dan, and understanding, that's what I mean about when I'm gonna do my new film, like not my new, but just going back to what I do, but I have a different perspective 100%. Like everything is gonna be, it's the same, it's always who I am, but just a different perspective made. Like, and I could tell you that because you know my films. and you'll see. We'll talk soon. But keep in mind, Ryan, it'll always be the same. Like I have but it'll be weird. You'll understand. People that know art and.
I have another question too. You mentioned about how you enjoyed playing Germans when you were younger, but when we were doing the video for the German song, you said how you told a story about how Germans were really inspired by indigenous culture. I don't know if you want to share any thoughts about that.
Well, that's because, it's funny enough, when I went there, they always said, Darryl, we always wanted to be the Indians. Is because that's how they, again, when I went to Germany in 2009, right? I just understood it, but they also knew who I was, but still understanding, like going to Germany. At that point I knew, but when I went there, it's, just meeting everybody, and it's like, they tell me, they goes, oh yeah, we always wanted to be the Indians. Then nobody ever wanted to be the cowboys.
Are there any Germans in the room?
Oh.
Can you confirm?
Prost.
I can confirm, yeah.
Oh wow, okay.
Yes. Oh, Winnetou. Most famous Indian in the world, besides me, Darryl Nepinak.
Because one of the things I remember you telling me that I thought was interesting was you said that you really liked the German uniforms, and you had heard that the Germans kind of stole a lot of the style from indigenous culture in their uniforms, and that there was kind of a shared aesthetic there.
I don't remember us talking about that. But there's things that certainly we have. There's difference, One of the there's lots I could talk about. But if I do, some of it there is no facts. It's just more story facts. So and I shouldn't talk about things that I truly cannot back up. But however, I will talk to you privately about one thing that's cool, and with company, no problem, right, mates? But I shouldn't. I have to be respectful for the people I do not know here. But you'll understand, because I will get to the point of where I was going without any disrespectful to anybody, right? Yeah, cheers.
Anyone else?
The short films you made it in at the perspective of somebody who is completely outside the television system, because you are, in a sense, putting it in a very ironic way. But now you are working on a TV show for the real broadcast television. Does it change your approach of the film you will make?
Oh no, I'm still trying to pitch the idea of the television series. I just want to be able to write, and for the directing, working on the TV show, I just want to exercise my writing more, and that's for the reason for that show, But it'll allow me to write all the time with room of writers, and learning that process, and for myself, and help me in my career in films, right? Well, in short films, in art. That makes sense?
Yes.
Oh, cheers.
I'm curious to know if there are any films by Indigenous filmmakers that you've watched recently that you've enjoyed, that you would recommend.
Recently, who are the Indigenous? I've seen two, Charlene Moore and Rain Vermette. Both great filmmakers. Rain Vermette is actually a very fantastic filmmaker. And I just seen those two recently. I'm just trying to think if I've seen anybody else's. I haven't seen other new stuff. Or I have not. But now, knowing volunteering, I'm gonna have to watch more and understand. But
have you ever worked with Wapikoni?
Excuse me?
Wapikoni Mobile?
Do you have
We have a representative of Wapikoni right here that with whom we can meet afterwards.
Cheers.
Did you know of Darryl's work?
No, I just watched them.
You just discovered his work, okay. That obviously was not a job interview that you got. Any other questions?
I
Right.
haven't seen your films in quite some time, but I really love Bannock. I don't know if you want to share any stories about that film in particular.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, a good story is that was during a 48-hour film contest. That's my mom. And what I did was I served Bannock at the beginning of that 48-hour contest at the Winnipeg Film Group. And I served Bannock, and everybody in the audience was eating it. So when my film came up, you know, it was a laugh. It was funny. Yeah, that's a true story. Whether I served it or not, I could always keep that and not say anything really.
Well, you blurred the lines between fiction and your real life, so.
Yes. But yeah, that was fun. Those 48-hour films. I got to do more. I was trying to get in that Super 8 one take, I think. Yeah, there's a bunch of good stuff. I did that stop motion. Oh, truly, I did not like that. I very, very did not like that time. However, watching it now, I think I want to do another one because I think I can understand it now.
I think we have time for one last question. Yeah. Anyone? Maybe you have a question for us, Darryl. Or last words for you.
Oh, cheers. Well, first off, thank you for coming to my show. Thank you for staying and listening. I hope I didn't offend anybody, truly. I shouldn't even say that. I hope you guys... fuck. Oh.
No, you did.
No, but please, I'll be happy always to talk. I'm always happy to talk. But I'm more grateful just for coming here, being invited by Festival de Nouveau Cinéma.
Thank you, Dan.
And everybody, Dan, and everybody, truly, I truly understand how much hard work goes into this, you know, and I know I do want to volunteer at the film festivals in Winnipeg with Gimli Film Fest and Windex, but I truly do, I'm more than grateful for the hard work that everybody does. And, you know, everybody, that's amazing. And thank you for having me here, I think. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Darryl.